Hello guys and welcome to Simple About Games channel. Today I'm going to tell you about a very special champion, about a champion who got an insane buff recently and most likely will get a rough nerf in the near future. But let's not be fast with the conclusions and focus on the champion itself. Her name is Frozen Banshee. She was introduced at the same time with the Raid Battle Pass Season 1 and in fact is one of the first rewards you get after you buy Gold Battle Pass. Okay, as usual, let's start from the visuals. I think that every Game of Thrones fan will agree with me that she has something in common with White Walkers. Who am I trying to fool? She looks exactly like a female White Walker. I like the model. It is simple, but the textures are quite detailed. If you don't agree with me, feel free to leave the comments below the video. Let's have a look at her base stats. She is an attack-based champion. Her damaging abilities scale from her attack. The more attack she has, the harder she hits. To be honest, I prefer defense-based champions, at least for the clan boss. The fact that she has good base defense, a bit more than 1k, which is by the way is really good for an attack-based rare champion, makes gearing her easier. I have to say that many epic and even legendary attack champions have less. To compensate that, developers decided to make her HP and attack less compared to the other champions. It's time to check her skills now. Her first skill is a 2-hit attack. Each hit has a 80% or 100% if booked chance to place a 5% poison for 2 turns, if the target is under the poison sensitivity debuff. I will explain what poison sensitivity is a bit later. Her second skill is a 1-hit attack on a 4 turn, 3 turn if booked cooldown, and it fills the turn meters of all allies by 2% for each debuff on the target, so potentially every 3 turns she can boost your team turn meters up to 20%, because maximum amount of debuffs the target can have is 10. It could be useful if you are using speed composition team for clan boss. Her third skill is a 1-hit attack on 5 turn, 3 turn if booked cooldown. It places a 25% poison sensitivity debuff for 2 turns. Poison sensitivity is a new debuff introduced in patch 1.13. It increases the damage taken from poisons by 25 or 50%. Frozen Banshee has a smaller version of the debuff. At the moment, we still don't have any champions with the 50% version. It is worth mentioning that the skill before the patch 1.13.5 was less powerful compared to the current state. The skill had 10% chance to place the poison sensitivity debuff, increasing by 10% for each debuff on the target, and now it just places the debuff if the accuracy check is passed. Frozen Banshee also has a decent aura, which increases ally accuracy by 35 in all battles. I think it's really good for new players, when you struggle getting your accuracy high enough. Her skill set is literally screaming, "Use me to beat the clan boss", and we will do that right after I will show her gear and masteries. This is the gear I have on her. I'm currently using Immortal and Lifesteal gear, because I use her only on clan boss. Of course, Lifesteal gear is not the only option, but in case if you want to drop Lifesteal completely, you need to have very specific champions, for example Badalkazar. Here are my total stats. As you can see, she has high enough accuracy and I've did everything possible to bump up HP and defense to a decent level. Her speed is tuned for a slow counter-attack clan boss team. Accuracy is very important for Frozen Banshee, because it's needed to land both the poisons and the poison sensitivity debuff. Okay, now couple of words about her masteries. In my opinion, she works the best with the attack and support mastery trees, but of course using attack and defense is also a viable option, and if you have debuff extender in your setup, that would be even a better choice. I went for the support tree mostly because I want Master Hexer for a chance to extend my poisons and poison sensitivity debuff. Below the video I will as usual leave the links for my build and some other variations you might find useful. It is time to show her in action, and I will focus on clan boss because from my point of view this role suits Frozen Banshee the best. I will show you a couple of good runs in 2 different setups. First one is more traditional heavy defense based counter-attack setup, and the second one is less focused on survivability and more about dealing maximum damage possible. I've also tried Frozen Banshee with reworked. By the way, check my video about him, this little guy is really good, but I didn't like the result, because of how her A1 and A3 worked and the fact that Bulwark is not consistent debuff extender. She sometimes prevented my Razin from placing defense down and weaken, placing too many poisons, occupying all the debuff slots. With someone like Vizier, that shouldn't be an issue, because you have better control over the process. Take a look at the amount of poison she is placing, and how quick she occupies all the debuff slots. I think that Vizier and Frozen Banshee will be an insane combo. Too bad I don't have him to test it out. In both runs, she did an insane amount of damage, from 9 to 9.5 million on Ultra Nightmare Clan boss. For a rare champion, it's extremely good. In fact, she's on par with some best of the best poisoners. She does more damage compared to my Steel Skull and Elethar. I don't have a Cult Brawler to compare with him, but my wild guess is that she at least does comparable damage. Of course, if you have Nethril or Badel in company of Vizier, she won't be able to compete, but she's a rare after all. Instead of conclusion, I want to give you an advice. The buff she received recently puts her on the same level with best, epic and legendary clan boss damage dealers in the game, and she is far ahead of any other rare the game currently has. This is actually really good, and I think we all deserve awesome rare champions to be in the game. But there is a slight problem. We had the same situation before. Those of you who play the game long enough must remember the buff Steel Boyer got, and of course the nerf which made her useless. My concern is that the same thing might happen again with Frozen Banshee, because she is too good for a rare. If you are new to the game, keep that in mind, and if you are an old player and have some spare resources, I advise to max her out as soon as possible. This is pretty much everything I wanted to say. Thank you for your time, play smart. If you liked the video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. I will catch you later, guys. Bye bye.